This is going to be a quick little video on performing some active tests or intrusive tests on different actuators on the vehicle. So the engine that I'm going to be using is the Pontiac Grand Am that's on the engine stand, and I'm only going to be using the Virus on this particular demonstration, but pretty much it's going to be the same with any scan tool. They might be, the sections in the scan tool might be labeled slightly different, but anyway, it'll be pretty much the same. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got the scan tool on. We're going to go into the scanner mode on this one, and we're going to, once we get the vehicle information in and everything, we're going to see if we can find a window that'll tell us special tests or active tests, or there's all kinds of different labels that they use for it. So right now I'm just using the automatic ID to identify the vehicle, so I don't have to punch in all the different information. So on this one we're going to look at engine, and then we're going to do functional tests. And with this one we're going to output controls. We're going to go over here to output controls. There you got a whole bunch of different options on this particular menu here. You got your CKP variation learn, which is crankshaft position sensor, calibration pin, evap system, injector balance, and all those kinds. Injector balance would be an active test of an actuator, but we're not going to do that this time. We're going to go into output controls, and what we're going to do is we're going to just do a couple of them. So you've got a choice of a whole bunch of them. We can turn the AC compressor clutch on and off on this one. We can do the cruise control. We can do EGR percent. We can do IAC control. We'll start with the IAC control. We'll do that one first. So we can control the idle with the scan tool on this. So let me go ahead and start the vehicle. Okay, once the vehicle is started, you let it stabilize. So you let the engine kind of calm down and stabilize wherever you want it to, and then we can increase the idle air control. So if we hit this button here, we're just increasing it. I think 2,000 is as high as it'll go. But you can hear the engine go up in RPM, so we'll bring it back down. We might even be able to get it down below 1,000. You can hear the engine's almost not running now. We're down to 875. So this actually is a really good test to do. You can hook up your scan tool like this. So if you're doing a different test on the vehicle that requires you to hold the vehicle at like 2,000 RPMs, you go into the IAC control, set it at 2,000 RPMs, and you don't have to touch the throttle, and it'll hold it there. So anyway, this is one active control. So let's back out of this one. When you back out of it, you hear the idle go back up. It releases control of the engine, so the engine goes back to normal. Here's cooling fans is another one that we can do. So the cooling fans is easier to hear if I turn the engine off. So if I turn on the cooling fans, there's little buttons right up here on the top, so I'm going to hit the on button. I don't know whether you can hear that or not, but the cooling fan just turned on. So I'll take you over there so you can see. So if we come over here and look, both cooling fans are turned on low speed. But anyway, another active test that you've probably already done before is the Injector Disable. So we can, if you want to do a power balance test, what you can do is you can start the vehicle up. So we'll go ahead and start it up. And if we check the injector number 1 disable, so if we disable it, we hit the yes button. You can see that little dive in the RPM as well, but you could hear the change in the engine. We turn it back on. So this is one way you can do a power balance test, is just by disabling the injectors one at a time. So anyway, what I want you to do for this task, when it asks you to perform some intrusive tests or actuator tests, and this is what I want you to do, is just go through here, look and see what's available for the engine that you're working on. So if it's a vehicle, see what's available that you can control, and then control it. Here's another one that you can do. EGR is another one that is a good output control test. And basically what you can do is you're turning the EGR valve on, and it'll be almost like inducing a vacuum leak. I'll show you what it does. But you're testing to see if the EGR valve works when you do this. This engine already has a misfire in it. But we'll go ahead and open up the EGR valve. You can hear how it's running really poorly. Turn it back off. It's because we're inducing EGR. EGR is only supposed to be induced into the engine under certain conditions, usually under a light acceleration and stuff like that. And so when you start inducing EGR at an idle, the engine doesn't like it, doesn't like to run. So anyway, that's what I want you to do for the task for controlling the engine output controls. So use a scan tool, and it doesn't matter whether it's the Virus or if it's the Modus or if it's the Tech 1 or Tech 2 or the Launch, whatever scan tool you want to grab, and see if you can actuate some actuators with the scan tool. And what this is doing is when you do a test like this, what you're doing is you're checking to see if the actuator actually works. This is the same kind of a test that the PCM does every time it runs a monitor. It's going to actually operate the actuator to see if it actually works. And that's called an intrusive test. And so by doing it with a scan tool, what you're doing is you're eliminating everything else. If, say for instance, the cooling fans, we turn the cooling fans on, then we know that the cooling fans work. We know that the wires going to the cooling fans work. We know that, that they are able to turn on and off. So if the cooling fans aren't coming on, it's a control issue. So we need to figure out why is something not turning them on and off. But there's nothing wrong with the cooling fans themselves, if you see what I'm saying. Same thing with the idle air control. If you want to see if the idle air control motor is working, run it up and down. If the idle changes, then the idle air control motor is working. So if the idle has got some issues, there's something else wrong. So you can look for something else that could be causing that. So hopefully this makes sense, and we'll help you out doing the task. So we'll see you in the next video.